With the recent success of Resident Evil 4 and Street Fighter 6, this year is nothing short of proving Capcom's just one of the best at their job. It's kind of crazy when a developer can release banger AAA title releases months apart and they sell like hotcakes. We do love a good hotcake, don't we, folks? But yeah, it doesn't seem like Capcom has any signs of slowing down except for that bump on the road that is in fact Exoprimal. Dinos, guys! Remember Dinos? Capcom has completely forgotten Dinos. But today we're not talking about Capcom completely ignoring a beloved IP that's still wanted and desired to this day. We're talking about the IP that's just getting so much love, and that of course is, where does Resident Evil go next? Out of all the Resident Evil titles, except maybe one that fans have been clamoring for years, it's Resident Evil Code Veronica. This is the one requested by fans, I think, more than actual Resident Evil 2 Remake or 3 Remake or even 4 Remake. It's just ones that fans have been wanting for a long time, and I can't blame them. It's one of the most beloved by many fans. Me personally, I did not care for it, but we'll discuss that why in a second. A remake for Code Veronica would make so many happy and elated, but it seems up until recently Capcom has finally acknowledged its existence, which is, I've always said Code Veronica, I would say because of it not selling as well as a lot of the other titles.
Wait, don't shoot.
I don't have a lot of nostalgia for Code Veronica, and honestly listening to this for most of the game.
Now you're talking. I'm no rat, and I'm gonna make that very clear to him.
Experience is quite miserable, and I never want to go back to it. I honestly can't say anything about Steve. I think my hate for Steve is very forced, because if I was his age, 17 years old, lost my mom, had to put down my dad, I'd probably be the same way, if not worse. He's really not a bad character, but regardless of how I feel about Steve, a remake for Code Veronica just makes the most sense narratively, more so than a Resident Evil 5 remake, mainly because it gives us more insight to Wesker and Chris and would help us understand them better in Resident Evil 5, which is, again, why Code Veronica needs a remake over 5 first. So we have that connection to Wesker and Chris. There's a lot of people who have not played the originals or refuse to do so due to tank controls, or they just don't like the graphics, which you'd be surprised how many people get turned away from that sort of thing, and probably have no idea who Wesker is other than the guy that showed up at the end of Resident Evil 4 Remake. So remaking Code Veronica first would give fans a better idea who he is instead of just going ahead and remaking 5 first. While Code Veronica is the one game everyone wants to get the remake treatment, there is one that fans have been clamoring for years to get, and that's of course Resident Evil Outbreak. Capcom has been throwing a lot of stuff at the wall in the hopes that it would stick with their multiplayer experiences, and I gotta be honest with you, it's not working out. There was Project Resistance. Remember Project Resistance? It was a fun game. It got ruined by hackers and then lost all its support. Again, it was a fun experience. I played a good bit of it in beta as well as when it released, and I had my fun with it. I thought it had a unique twist to the multiplayer experience, and I wouldn't mind seeing them crack at it again. And of course, I don't really have to say anything about Reverse. That game has the player base of like 12 people at its best right now, and it just astounds me Capcom thought this was a good idea, which is of course why they released it with Resident Evil Village Gold Edition. Of course, that can be the same can be said about Project Resistance getting released with Resident Evil 3 Remake, and we saw how that worked out. It's a failed attempt at trying to keep players. Reverse was just pitiful, and now we have Exoprimal, a game with dinosaurs that is like a slap in the face to Dino Crisis fans, and will probably be dead in a few months because it won't be able to keep players. Plus the horrendous amount of microtransactions. Capcom should be ashamed of themselves. It's like, that's the type of greed that I expect from like EA, not Capcom. But again, Capcom's in it to make the mighty American dollar at the end of the day. I want their games to succeed, but Exoprimal is just like a prime example of like, hey, guys, remember dinos? Oh, we don't give a crap about Dino Crisis, which is why our collaboration is with Monster Hunter, our more successful monster game. just absolutely ridiculous. It's almost like there's an amazing game that people still play to this day that has a lot of great characters, multiple scenarios that would satisfy a lot of the slur gamers, and if they remade it, Resident Evil Outbreak would have so much potential. It's insane that Capcom hasn't remade it with all their failed attempts at multiplayer experiences, and it's the one game that people are still playing through online servers to this day. I think last time I checked with the servers, there's like up to like 1,500 people around the world playing. That's utterly insane that a game that old is still retaining that kind of player base. Capcom has a golden opportunity to remake one of their most beloved titles and make a lot of fans happy. But again, much like Code Veronica, it doesn't seem like it's on their list of priorities to deal with. I would make the argument that if you remade Outbreak, give it monetization features, like give characters like Kevin and all these other characters skins as well as weapon skins, people wouldn't mind that because it's a beloved franchise and it has multiple scenarios to back it up. And I think it would sell really well. But like Code Veronica, I don't have a lot of nostalgia for Outbreak. But I can understand the fervor people have for it and the desire they have for it. Just makes the most sense to remake the game when all their multiplayer experiences seem to keep failing or are dead within weeks or months. I think Capcom should definitely remake Outbreak because it would make the whole fan base super happy to relive such an interesting multiplayer experience. Again, Code Veronica and Outbreak seem like real moneymakers if Capcom were to remake them. But there's another title that I feel we need that isn't a remake, but a sequel to a game that I just absolutely love and have a special place in my heart for, and that's a sequel to Resident Evil Revelations 2. All the sequels and spin-off Capcom's has, a Revelations sequel seems like the one we need most due to Revelations 2 ending. And that ending is where it turns out Alex Wesker did in fact succeed in what she started to do, which is transfer her essence, her soul, her mind, it's not really cleared. I honestly can't remember the story as much as I like, into Natalia. And since this ending was set around the year of 2013 to coincide with the ending of Resident Evil 6, we've heard nothing, not a zilch on Alex in either of the sequels like RE7 or RE Village. So I think we need some closure. Have her be the antagonist for Revelation 3, let it set her up as a big baddie over the next few mainline entries, and have it cap off with her being defeated by our heroes. Obviously, we know everything turned out alright because Chris is still around. Again, we know nothing about the other characters we all know and love. But I think a lot of fans want a sequel to Revelations 2, myself included. It may be a small minority, if I'm being honest, but I know me and a few other of my mutuals absolutely want a sequel to Revelations 2. I think Capcom should give the fans what they want, right? I mean, it makes the most sense to at least give us a finish to the trilogy and sets Alex up to be the next baddie for the franchise like Albert before, and gives fans a much wanted sequel in the process. And for me, I really enjoyed Revelations 2. It's a spin-off that I enjoy with all my heart and soul. Anything with more Barry is always a fun time. And I just love his relationship with his family, and I always love seeing Claire. Like, these characters mean a lot to a lot of people. For me, Barry is the example of what I want to be as a dad, going out of his way to try and find his daughter who went missing. I want to be that kind of dad, and I look up to Barry. A lot of fans want some sort of closure to it. It's kind of crazy that game finished its episodic run in 2015, and we've heard nothing on Alex Wesker since then. So honestly, truly, it makes a lot of sense that we hear something on Alex Wesker, that we see something from it. Set her up as the next big villain in Revelations 3 over the next mainline entries. It makes the most sense, but again, at the end of the day, Capcom's going to do whatever they feel is necessary. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get a Revelations 3, but I think a lot of fans want some sort of closure, and that leads us into what seems like the most obvious choice for the next remake, and that is, of course, Resident Evil 5 Remake. Out of everything we've talked about so far today, Resident Evil 5 getting a remake seems the most likely choice by Capcom to remake, first due to the ending of Resident Evil 4 Remake and what Wesker's screen shows, and him dropping this as well. And also him dropping the line of dialogue right there going into the billions as well as what's on the screen, i.e. the Underground Garden, Excella. It almost seems certain that we are getting Resident Evil 5 Remake after the sequel that'll come out in 2025. And which, if I'm being honest, I'd rather they do it later instead. So if you don't know the development cycle of Capcom right now, what we're going to see within the next year is an announcement for the next major Resident Evil title, which is obviously going to be the sequel to Village. It seems most likely the major release for Capcom, but again, my one hope for this, and I think a lot of people feel the same way, is Jill needs to be front and center. We get her in Death Island. It's good that she's overcome her trauma. She's back. She's better than ever, but she needs to come back to where it all started for her, and that is in video game format. The last time we got any inkling of Jill in video games was in an email she sent to Barry in Revelations 2. So 100%, we need our girl front and center. I would do you one even better. Throw Leon as our partner as well. We've never had these two in a game together, and from what I've heard about Death Island, their relationship seems pretty solid and pretty good. They seem to work really well. They got a good bond going. So what better way to really capitalize on that than have them both working together in the next sequel? Maybe they bring back an A and B scenario and the zapping system for a little more added engagement, a little bit more content, and most importantly, make sure those second scenarios make more sense, unlike Resident Evil 2 Remake, where it sort of fell all out of place. I think Jill and Leon working together would be the best because of how good their chemistry supposedly is in Death Island, and I think it would be and awesome to have them work together in game for the very first time, and it being Jill's first time back in the game since it could definitely be one of the best games Capcom has ever made, and give Jill and Leon fans so much love in the process. I feel like pairing those two seems like a dynamite sure success. We've never had them in the game together. They seem to work really well in Death Island. Makes the most sense to have them front and center in a game together, kicking ass. Maybe they tie it into the events of Village, I don't know. Or maybe it leads up to Alex Wesker making a return. You know, something pretty game-changing for the franchise that just blows their minds away, and have us play as Jill and Leon working together to uncover the truth. But hey, come on, Capcom, give the fans what they want. Again, Capcom has a lot of avenues they can take this, whether it's sequels or remakes, but they could do something so far out there and so far gone from reality that no one would see it coming, and that's remaking their IPs that really never stood a chance when they were released, like Resident Evil Survivor. Who wouldn't want to play as Ark Thompson again? New Reach for the Moon Engine, asking him why his mother is calling him, like, let's do it, man. Let's bring Ark Thompson back. Or we could do one similar to that, and we get Resident Evil Dead Aim. I mean, who wouldn't want to play Resident Evil Dead Aim in a new shiny animation with Bruce and all his janky animations in 4K glory? Or maybe we make another classic like Resident Evil Gaiden. Again, I'd be down with getting another Barry-focused game and not real Leon. Maybe at the end of the game, Barry faces off against not Leon with the help of the one and only true Giga Chad himself, Leon Scott Kennedy. Honestly, you can never go wrong with more Barry. In fact, I would love another Barry-focused game. You see, Capcom doesn't have to release or remake beloved games that that we all love. They can release the ones that never had a chance to begin with, like Survivor, like Dead Aim, like Gaiden. Give some love to the games that never had their day in the sun and bring a whole new set of fans in the process. You know, just my 2 cents. I mean, whatever Capcom does, we as fans will be happy with what they create, whether it's a remake, a sequel to a beloved game. I don't think Capcom can generally do no wrong in the fandom's eyes usually. Again, I think Exo Primal is going to be proof that they're going to do a lot of wrong. But that's just kind of my thoughts about that. What do you guys think? This is the end of the video, but of course I want to hear from you guys. What do you want from Capcom next? Whether it's a remake or a sequel. I know many will say remake Dino Crisis. I think that's a sentiment we can all agree, of course, but I want to hear from you guys. What's the next IP you want Capcom to focus on in Resident Evil? What's the next game you want them to remake? A sequel, whether it's Revelations 3, Code Veronica, Outbreak, Survivor, Dead Aim, Gaiden, Resident Evil 5 remake. There's a lot that Capcom can do, but I want to hear what you guys are looking forward to the most. This being the end of the video, I want you to let me know down below. And of course, if you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like button. It helps your boy get into the algorithm. And if you're feeling super generous, consider subscribing and turning on notification bells on. But that's it. That's the video. I love you all. I'll see you all on the next one. Take it easy.